Hello, and welcome to POLS 1101. I'm Dr. Carl Snook, and I'm sitting here in my living room right now. The TV's just out of sight, and I'm looking out my window to my backyard. And that's really the great thing about online education. You can do the work anywhere, so long as you do the work. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction into the semester, give you some ideas about things that you're going to be expected to do, and give you a timeline. 8 weeks from now, we're going to be done. And when the semester is over, you're going to be very happy, or you're going to be disappointed. And I hope and I expect that most of us will just get in, do the work, and move forward. So I'm not going to be in the office this summer. I'm actually working from home all summer long, and so the best way to reach me will be through my campus email. That's csnook1@kennesaw.edu. If you look at the syllabus, it's listed there. It's clickable on the syllabus, but you might also want to write that down. Of course, 21st century, you can type Carl Snook into the address, and it will fill it in for you if you're a Kennesaw State student using Kennesaw State email. As far as appointments, we can get together on Microsoft Teams if you would like to. Perhaps we could also set something up to talk on the telephone if that's what you need. Probably the first point of contact will be to send me an email, and we'll set an appointment. But I have absolutely no problem with meeting with you, either using Teams or using the telephone, if that's what's needed for us to be successful this summer. I do preference the campus email as a way to communicate with me over the D2L. What happens is that the D2L messages come through on my email, and then I often respond to them through my campus email, and then that tends to create all sorts of headaches when you don't get the message, because I'm not allowed to send to D2L. It just forwards them from D2L to my campus site. So much better to use my campus email. So let's talk a little bit about what we mean by American government. So you'll see in this module coming up, I actually have a short slide presentation called "Why Are We Here?" And you can watch that either through the link to YouTube, or you can, or if you're able, you can use the actual PowerPoint, and you click on the icon, and you'll be able to listen to me tell that same story, just slide by slide. So that's entirely up to you which way you access that, and I encourage you to. There'll be a little bit of information on it that will help on the first quiz. We're going to have a quiz on the first module, even though it's just a Let's Get Started module, because it's going to include a chance for me to know that you're following the syllabus, that you're aware of some of the rules of the course, and that you've watched the video on why exactly you should be doing political science, or why exactly you should be taking this American government class. Hint, the government makes you. So I guess you could be a rebel, but otherwise you're kind of stuck. And it's the shortest route to getting your degree. The textbook we're going to be using this semester is the 9th, or the 10th. It's entirely up to you. The 10th edition is probably somewhat better because it's the most up-to-date. However, we had the election last November where the Republicans took over the House of Representatives, so some of the pictures will be a little bit different. But you can also use an older edition if it's going to save you money. You just always have to remember with any edition of a textbook that everything they wrote was true as they saw it on the day that they wrote it. And so the further we get away from the now, the less the book is what you can use and count on. And so you might want to look for updates, particularly on who some of the political figures are, or maybe what the law is. And I'll make sure I point things out when you need to know. So this book is The Logic of American Politics, 10th edition or 9th edition preferred. It's by Cornell, Jacobson, Kuzer, and Vavrick. And the list of authors gets longer and longer each year as Cornell and Jacobson get older, and they need more people to help them do the work. Kind of reminds you of the president, right? And in addition to that, you're hoping that I'm hoping that you're paying attention to what's going on in government and politics in the United States. We'll have some videos for you to watch associated with the different chapter, with the different modules, kind of to increase and advance our experience. So each of the modules will have a discussion that you're going to do, and they're usually introduced by a video rather than additional reading. And so you'll watch the video and you'll react to the video in light of what you know and believe. Well, for the most part, the discussions are going to be graded based on you doing them and you actually are on topic, that you address and you consider the question that is presented by each of the discussions. So how will grading and our assignments go this semester? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that we might not be able to do all of the things that we would normally do in a 16-week semester. Typically in a 16-week semester, I give the students a short essay or research paper to do. And what I've decided to do this time is just enhance the discussions a little bit rather than expecting you to do a research paper in an 8-week course for an 1100 level course. So we're going to have 6 written discussions. Each of these discussions is just worth 10 points. The total number of points in the class is 250, so 60 out of 250, or just over 20% of your grade, will come from you watching a video and then discussing it. Actually, the first of these discussions is a personal introduction that you're doing as part of Module 1. And I don't have a video on each of you. I'm counting on you to be the topic expert on yourself. And if you read the prompt, you'll see that I'm not really asking for you to give any personal details, just whatever you want to do to introduce yourself to the other students in the course. And if you recall, some of the face-to-face courses, you probably don't do a lot of introducing of yourself. But it's nice for us, since we're not together, to give you a chance to sort of create a learning environment, a learning community. And sometimes that involves actually sending a message. Sometimes it involves you telling something about yourself and then being welcomed to the class. We will have a quiz on the syllabus and the material from Module 1. Typically, we'll have an exam for the other modules, although sometimes I'll call it a quiz, sometimes I'll call it an exam. I sometimes mix those terms up. What I really mean is that you're going to have a graded assignment where you're going to be expected to know material from each of the modules. And so the first module, you'll be expected to be quizzed on the syllabus because that's the main material from the module. When we get to talking about chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the textbook, then you'll have a module exam or a module quiz on that, which will be a little bit longer. We'll have you'll have 50 questions to answer. So there's going to be four midterm exams. I'm sorry, not 50, 25. You'll just have 25 questions to answer, each worth 25 points for a total of 100. So you'll see that that's about 40% of your grade is to know the material from each of the modules. Now, the exams are open book and open note. You won't really have time to look up every question, but if you're familiar with the material, if you know where to find material that you're not familiar with, it'll greatly enhance your grade. I find that sometimes there's students who think that they're going to not learn the material until they're taking the test, and they almost always run out of time. But if you know most of the material, it'll give you plenty of time to go, oh wait, I know that. That was like page 38. And you look that up and you'll be able to get the question right. I find what happens is that if I told you that it was a closed book, closed note test, what would happen? That would just punish people who are honest, right? Dishonest people would still look it up in the book. Dishonest people would still look at their notes. The only way that we can actually be sure that everybody has a fair opportunity is just say, look, if you know where to find, this is the 21st century, right? If you know where to find information, that's almost as good as having it right in your head. But there will be a time limit on each of these assignments, so don't be expecting that the day that you open the test will be the day that you'll start your learning. And then we're going to have a final exam right at the end, where it'll be a bit longer and it will cover all of the material of the course. And I'll give you a study guide for that. I realize it's a little bit harder to learn and synthesize all of the material. All the exams, though, will be multiple choice. All of them will cover material that's either been mentioned on the slides or has been mentioned in the textbook, with a preference towards the key terms. There's a reason they call them key terms, right? Because they're the things that you most need to know. There will be a few topics that we'll talk about, such as who is the Speaker of the House, who's the President of the United States. Certainly, it would be pretty laughable in an American government class to let somebody get a good grade in a class without knowing who any of the key players are. But you'll never be just expected to know something like that without me first warning you. And then finally, I have a section of the grade called attendance, which is 20 points. And the thing to remember about attendance is, well, there's nowhere to actually go. So what's attendance in a class like this? Well, it's making sure that you log into the course a couple times every week. Make sure that you actually do the assignments. If you do the assignments and you're engaging in the class, for most of you, this will just be 20 free points. Sometimes students decide to check out on us for a couple weeks, and we need to discourage that. This is mostly a benefit just for you, because if you know you have to access the course and do the work, then you will, and then it'll help your grade. So maybe we should talk about, so how's that add up? 250 points. If you get 90% of 250 points or 225 points, you'll get an A. You can subtract 25 points off from it each time. 200 points is a B, 175 points is a C. Somebody told me one time, I said that 200 points was a B, and I said, well, what if I get 204 points? And it's like, well, it's less than 225, so it's not an A, but it's more than 200 points, so it's a B. So you can create that skill yourself. I'm not going to round the scores. If somebody's really close and they've been trying hard, maybe they'll get a point or two, but it's not going to, don't think of it as I have 89.5 points. Think of it as I needed 225 points and I have 223 points. Now, does that get you the higher grade? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I think the safe path is to get the number of points you need for the higher grade. So you're responsible for turning in all of the assignments. So make sure you have a good computer. This is a very bad time to be taking an exam and to have internet that cuts out on you or doesn't work reliably, because then the exam will shut off. You'll go try to go back in, and if you're not able to get back in, you'll send me an email. And I have a rule in the class: if an exam opens and then it closes, it never opens again. And so, whatever the goodness of the excuse, we'll have to use to judge how we'll go from there. But one thing we aren't going to do is give you that exam again. So make sure that you have a computer, and make sure you have a computer you can rely on. Expecting to be able to borrow someone else's computer is probably not the way to do an online course. You should make sure that you set aside time. It doesn't have to be the same amount of time, but I try to imagine that students are going to spend the same amount of time taking an online course as they would have spent taking a face-to-face course, and expect the same outcome. If you have to do the work at 3 o'clock in the morning, if that's a time that you function well, I have no problem with that. If you need to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning, that's equally good. This is online, so when you do the work, that's up to you. Where you do the work, that's up to you. That you do the work, it's just like any other class. Make sure that you submit the exam on time, in Eastern time. So I did have a student one time who, I don't know which time zone New Mexico's in. I seem to remember that it was Mountain Time, but if it's Pacific Time, it doesn't make the story untrue. That they submitted everything based on their time, and they were like, "It's always closing on me. It's always closing on me," and it's like, yeah, because the computer here in Kennesaw, Georgia, thinks that you're 2 hours late. So send me an email if you're going to have a time constraint like that. If you're going out of town, or maybe you live somewhere in a different time zone, send me an email just so that we can be sure that we're aware of this and we're communicating right. I don't give extra credit. I do give some bonus points. There'll be times when I think that of something that's going to work to improve your educational experience. When I think of an extra credit, I think of a student who doesn't do an assignment and then says, "Can I get extra credit?" And I say to that student, "No. You should do the work that you were assigned to do." But at the same time, I do find things that come up that aren't on the original schedules, an opportunity to watch a presidential speech, or an opportunity to do some extra work that will actually benefit you in the course. And if I notice that, I'll offer it to you as a chance to raise your grade. Generally speaking, we don't take late quizzes or exams. So if you miss the deadline, you need to have told me before the deadline passes that there's a problem arising. Obviously, if you're driving home and it's raining really hard and there's no chance whatsoever that you're going to be able to get home safely, and you're not able to tell me until 5 minutes or an hour after you didn't do the work that you need an extension, that's a little different. If I'm sending you an email a week later saying, "Oh, by the way, you didn't do that discussion," you definitely shouldn't be expecting full credit on that discussion. But anyway, forgetting about an assignment is not an excuse. Things come up, emergencies come up, tragedies come up. But you have a syllabus, you have a D2L page that warns you of deadlines. Make sure that you follow the rules. It'll help you. I would gladly want to be able to go to my boss and explain why 25 students received A's. I have no problem with that at all. I'll just say, look at their work. It's pretty darn good. On the other hand, um, you need to meet me halfway on that one. So I even have to have something in here on what happens if they have to close the school because of a global pandemic. Well, you've seen how that works. We'll figure it out. Reasonable accommodations. Be sure you read through the syllabus. Etiquette, we don't say mean, rotten things to each other. We try to say nice things and supportive things to each other. You have a great opportunity in a class like this that if somebody says something that you don't like, you can say it out loud to yourself and not put it on the internet. But make sure you read how to contact financial aid, how to contact the registrar, how to contact the bursar, what to do in inclement weather. All of this material's here. But on page 6 of the syllabus, maybe the most important thing, the course outline. And so the course outline is a list of all of the assignments in the course and what we're going to be doing during each of the modules and the dates for the modules. You will notice that unlike many semesters where school is in session for 16 weeks, in an 8-week course, we have to compress the time a little bit. And I noticed looking at the material that we cover that sometimes it's easier to get things done in a week than it is other times. So, for instance, Module 1, you only have from May 30th to June 1st to learn what's going on in the course. But later on, we're going to have a couple times where you have a little bit more time. I kept in mind, for instance, that on July 4th, many of us will be either out of town or wanting to do things with family or friends. So Module 5 is longer than 8 days. But in general, what you have from Module 3 on, you have either 8 or 9 days to complete the work. And you'll notice with each module that it ends with either a quiz and a discussion, or a quiz, or an exam, or something, right? You will have a graded assignment with every module. So never expect a week to go by without something to do. Make sure that you pay attention to the dates so that they don't trip you up. Oftentimes someone says, I thought I had a little bit more time. And, I try not to be rotten about that. But if you're paying attention, you're not going to get into that kind of trouble. So our first assignment will be from May 30th to June 1st, and it'll be to read the syllabus, to watch the video, to complete discussion 1, which is a personal introduction, and the syllabus quiz, which is short. It's only 5 questions for 10 points, and that's due on June 5th. And then Module 2 will open on June the 6th, and that will be new material related to American government. Now, obviously, it's a chance that some of you didn't understand. I might have said something too fast, or I might have messed up how I said it. If there's something that you don't understand, the very best person to ask is me. I know what I meant. I have had conversations with students before where they say, oh, I spoke to other people in the class and nobody understood what you meant, and that's why I didn't do the assignment. And I said, well, wait a second. Why didn't you ask me? I know what I meant. Maybe I didn't say what I meant, but I know what I meant. And anyway, the key to good communication between us is for us to both be proactive. If I have something where I'm saying, well, why did they do that? I'll try to send you an email. But if you have a question where you don't think that I communicated well with you, feel free to contact me. I'll probably respond to you, and if we decide that maybe a lot of students in class didn't understand, that'd be a great opportunity for me to put an announcement on the class page. So anyway, if we work together, we can have a great semester, and I think we will. It's been my experience in the last several times I've taught in the summer that students who take summer classes are often much more motivated. They're not there because somebody told them they had to be. They're there because they want to finish faster. And so I think that things will go very well. And I also hope you have a chance to have some enjoyment too. So I'm available. Send me an email and we can talk. Otherwise, you'll hear more from me next week. Thanks.